1916, thunder roared across the Somme, not just from the cannons below, but from engines above. The sky became a new battlefield where courage met chaos in deadly duels. Every flight was a gamble, every cloud a potential grave. This is the story of the Battle of the Somme Skies, WWI's fiercest air clashes. The Battle of the Somme Skies, WWI's fiercest air clashes. In the summer of 1916, the thunder of artillery shook the earth along the river Somme in northern France. On the ground, millions of soldiers prepared for one of the largest and bloodiest battles in human history. But high above the mud, another war raged, a struggle for control of the sky that would shape the outcome of the Battle of the Somme and forever change aerial warfare. It was here that the young science of flight was tested by fire. At the beginning of the Somme offensive in July 1916, the skies belonged largely to the British Royal Flying Corps, the RFC. Under the command of General Hugh Trenchard, the RFC had grown into a formidable force, with nearly 400 aircraft ready to support the ground assault. Their mission was critical to photograph German defenses, direct artillery fire, and stop enemy reconnaissance. Yet, the air war over the Somme would prove as brutal and costly as the battle below. The early advantage of the British came from innovation. Aircraft such as the B-2C and FB-2B were used for observation and bombing runs, while faster fighters like the DH-Point hunted German planes that dared to cross the front. For a brief moment, British pilots believed they ruled the skies, but that illusion shattered with the arrival of new German aircraft and a deadly new tactic, the Fokker Scourge. The German Luftstreitkräfte had recently introduced the Fokker Eindecker, the first fighter plane, equipped with a synchronized machine gun that could fire through the propeller. This innovation allowed pilots to aim the entire aircraft like a weapon. The effect was devastating. British reconnaissance planes fell from the sky one after another. By mid-1916, air superiority shifted dangerously toward the Germans, and the RFC's casualties began to mount. Still, General Trenchard refused to yield. His philosophy was simple: offensive action at all times. He ordered his pilots to keep flying, no matter the losses. The only real defense is attack, he insisted. Every mission meant venturing deep into enemy territory under heavy fire, but retreat was never an option. The men of the RFC became known for their courage and for their willingness to die in the service of their comrades below. Among them was Major Lanoe Hawker, one of Britain's earliest aces and a recipient of the Victoria Cross. Hawker's squadron, equipped with the nimble DH-2, patrolled the skies daily over the Somme. In July 1916, his men faced relentless battles against superior German. Hawker's leadership and daring earned him respect even from his enemies. He became a symbol of determination during the darkest days of the campaign. Meanwhile, the Germans reorganized their air service in response to British pressure. They created specialized fighter units called Jagerstaffel, designed to hunt and destroy enemy aircraft. Among these new units was Jaster II, led by a brilliant young pilot named Oswald Boelcke, who trained his men using his own set of rules, the famous Dicta Boelcke. Under his guidance, pilots like Erwin BHM and Manfred von Richthofen began their rise to fame. The Somme became their testing ground. By late August, the sky above the trenches turned into a daily arena of death. Dogfights erupted from dawn till dusk. Pilots engaged at altitudes barely high enough to clear the shell smoke rising from the battlefield. Each encounter was personal, fought at point blank range with machine guns that jammed in engines that failed without warning. The average lifespan of a new RFC pilot at the Somme was barely 3 weeks. Despite their losses, the British pilots achieved crucial success. Their constant aerial reconnaissance provided commanders with accurate maps of German defenses. They guided the massive artillery barrages that preceded every attack and disrupted German communications from the air. Even when German fighters claimed victory in duels, the RFC's persistence ensured that the Allied armies always had eyes on the battlefield. The courage of these early aviators became legendary. They flew open cockpit biplanes with no parachutes, exposed to freezing winds and enemy fire. The sound of machine guns, the smell of oil and cordite, and the blur of spinning propellers filled their world. Each mission could end in flames, but they climbed back into their fragile planes again and again. Their bravery turned the Somme into the fiercest air campaign the world had ever seen. Tragically, 1916 would also claim many of the war's pioneering pilot. Oswald Boelcke, the father of German air tactics, was killed in a mid-air collision in October. His death shook the German air service, but his teachings lived on through his student, the rising star, Manfred von Richthofen, soon to be known as the Red Baron. On the British side, heroes like Lanoe Hawker continued to fight until November, when he was shot down by Richthofen himself after a lengthy duel, one of the most famous aerial battles of the war. By the time the Battle of the Somme ended in November 1916, both sides had suffered staggering losses. The Allies advanced only a few miles on the ground, and the air war had claimed hundreds of young lives. Yet something monumental had changed. Air power had proven its worth. The skies were no longer a sideshow to the trenches below. They had become an essential front of modern warfare. From the chaos of the Somme Skies emerged the tactics, courage, and machines that would define the future of aerial combat. Out of its smoke and sacrifice rose the aces who would dominate the rest of the Great War. The pilots of 1916 had turned the sky into a battlefield and proved that victory on the ground could no longer be won without mastery of the air. The Somme Skies burned with bravery and forged the first true aces of war. From the smoke of 1916 rose to machines destined to define aerial combat. Their clash would ignite a rivalry that turned pilots into legends. Join us in the next episode, Sop with Camel versus WWI, the rivalry that shaped air combat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.